Right. Did Grandpa Fausold ever vote for a Republican?
No, I doubt it. Of course, I was only 5 years old when Grandpa Fausold died. But having heard about him since and so on.
No, wait a minute. I mean by Grandpa Fausold, I mean your father.
Oh.
You don't want to get mixed up here,
No,
what you say.
no, I was thinking
talking
of
about
my own grandfather. But no, I know my father never voted for a Republican.
Mm-hmm. Getting back.
My father didn't either.
No, he did threaten to vote for Tom Dewey in '48, and he died. He probably would have voted for Dewey.
Well, maybe he would have, I don't know.
I remember him talking that way.
I know he was opposed to Roosevelt running again.
Mm-hmm.
But I know I kidded him about voting for Al Smith. I voted Republican that year rather than vote for Al Smith.
Why?
I didn't want a Catholic in. I suppose I was...
You wouldn't feel that way today, though.
I suppose I was narrow-minded then.
Yes,
but,
you were.
I hadn't voted too many years when Al was running.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of people felt the same way as you did at that time. Getting back to your grandfather, John, you say you were only 5 years old when he died.
I was 5 in September and he died in November. I think I'm right.
Did he live in the old homestead there too?
In Kecksburg.
Well, we'll see. I didn't know this was the homestead, but he never lived there. Where Aunt Grace is now.
Oh, no. Uncle Harry lived in his father's home. Grandpa Fausold lived there where Uncle Harry's, as you know, where Uncle Harry's lived. Well, that was the old Fausold.
Oh, that's where John Fausold lived.
Yes. Sure, that's where...
He lived there all his life?
Yes. Well, I couldn't say all his life, but during his married life.
Worked that farm there.
Yes.
He was a member of the legislature.
Yes.
Very long? You know?
I can't answer that.
You,
I don't know as much about the family tree as Grace would be able to tell you some things there that I wouldn't.
Yeah, I had to take this out and have Aunt Grace give me her side of the picture. I just wondered, the story goes that he rode across the county or the state in the stagecoach with Andrew Jackson. Any truth to this?
Oh, I think so. I don't know, when did he ride horseback? He rode to Harrisburg different times horseback.
Did he?
Yes.
Going to the legislature.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the legislature as a young man, would you say?
Well, around the time that his wife died, I know Aunt Mary told about him leaving home and crying, the tears running down his cheeks when he left, giving his 4 little children goodbye. My father was the oldest of the 4.
Mm-hmm.
And an aunt of his, Grandma's sister, kept house for them, cared for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was perhaps more successful, economically speaking, if that's a criteria of success, than your father was.
No, I wouldn't say so. No.
I guess I get this idea because he's in the legislature, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
No. He owned his farm, just like my father did. He didn't have his big family.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, only a difference of only one, I guess.
Yeah. Well, coming back then to father and the situation at home, trying to think if there's anything that I should know about as he grew up. Can you think of anything particularly?
Well, he was always a studious boy. He was always a good reader, and he was obedient.
Read what kind of books? Were there books around the house?
Oh, yes, we always had books around the house.
Where did they come from?
Well, Father bought them.
Well, what kinds of books would he buy? I remember, for example, I have a book on William Jennings Bryan, The First Battle. Is that the type of literature?
Yes. Plus, well, now, for instance, we had a book of the wife of Martin Luther, Catherine Van Bora. What was her name, Martin Luther's wife?
Something to that effect, I don't recall.
Well, and religious books why we should do so and so. I just
Nothing by way of fiction to speak of.
very little.
Of course, I don't imagine.
I
much
remember
fiction.
one that I read. Why I did it, I don't know. Why Father bought it. How to be happy though married.
Oh. How about magazines? Have any of those?
Well, we got he got the Youth Companion, which was a monthly, I think it was monthly, for children, and we got that for many years. And as I say, the Pittsburgh morning paper, and they got two Greensburg daily, weekly papers, the Democrat and I can't give you the name of the other one now, but I know Mother always said how foolish it was to buy two Greensburg papers, but he did. And
this would be somewhat of a sacrifice.
and the Ladies' Home Journal he got for Mother for years. Now, those are the only magazines that I recall.
Was there much company around the house? Callers, visitors?
We had, particularly in the summer, we would have people come out and stay overnight, people from Greensburg, and they always seemed that because we lived in the country, we'd always have plenty to eat, and all we need to do was go to the garden and get the food. That always half provoked Mother, because they didn't realize how much work it took to get things ready, and yet she always enjoyed the company.
Well, were these relatives or?
Mostly relatives,
Mostly
yes.
relatives.
And of course, most of them were on Mother's side of the house. Father didn't have any relatives in Greensburg that I recall.
Grandpa Fausold would take off quite frequently to go to various types of functions, speeches and that type of thing.
Yes,
I remember
and
Father saying this.
he went to Greensburg quite often, but he was, after all, he was away an awful lot, and yet he would not stay overnight. Charles was like him there. Charlie's no visitor as to go away and stay, you know. I went down there 2 years ago to Pennsylvania. Look what
Yes,
a hurried trip. Well, that's just exactly
that's true.
that, like my father was. He would come home maybe at 10 o'clock, which was late in those days, you know. You didn't have a radio or a TV to keep you up. He'd come home and he'd say, every other house is dark, but here you people are still up. Mother would be working, knitting, or mending. We would be doing our schoolwork or just trying to stay out of bed. I never wanted to go to bed.
What did you do for entertainment around there?
Oh, well, we played checkers and we played dominoes and tiddlywinks, all those games, and we had to do our schoolwork. We had to take night work. Bring night work home from school and do it.
But the family was settled down at a fairly early hour, would you say?
Well, we were, I suppose, were supposed to be in bed by 9 o'clock. I'm not sure of that, but we went to bed before Mother and Father did. Unless he was away, Mother would allow us to stay up, I suppose, partly for company. Unless he got home, if he was coming home too late, why, she would go to bed too.
I suppose there was always plenty of good food around.
Oh, we were never cold or hungry. We didn't have much cash on hand, but we were never cold or hungry as far as the house was concerned. We had a furnace in our house many years before any other person had. We had a telephone we had a telephone just as soon as the line went by the house that we could have.
You had no such thing as a record player?
Oh, no. No.
Music box or?
No, the
piano?
Well, I had a piano, yes. I got a piano while I was teaching in Latrobe.
I interrupted you. I think you were going to say something. I said music box.
Well, the first that came out, Fred bought one. And that was after Mother's death because he bought an Edison, and I felt that was a good while after her death.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt that if she could have had something like that when she was sick in bed, it would have helped her to pass some of the time.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk.
They weren't in circulation.
Yes. I want to talk about the death of your mother and father, but before we get into that, were there any sicknesses in the family? Serious sicknesses?
Well, Grace and I each had scarlet fever when we were little. And your father had diphtheria, and Charles had typhoid fever.
Mm-hmm. Were these serious illnesses? I mean, obviously they were, but were
Yes,
they near fatal?
in those days, you know, they didn't have any inoculations or anything like that. And Grace was much sicker with scarlet fever than I was. And Sam he was pretty bad when he had diphtheria. Mother took care of him and kept him in one room. What was, well, we used it, she used it sometimes as sewing room. I told you, it's Grace's kitchen today.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't allowed out of that during the quarantine. He wasn't allowed out of that room, and we moved our dining room over to what was the parlor in those days.
Mm-hmm.
And so that we would be as far away from them as we could.
Mm-hmm.
And the day that the doctor said he could get out, he just ran like a colt through that whole first floor, and that's a pretty good sized house, you know. I remember Mother telling that.
How old was
he?
he?
He was about 5.
And how long had he been quarantined?
Well, I don't know how long.
Well, several weeks.
3 weeks, I suppose.
That's interesting. Yeah, I want you to.
The day Charlie was 4 years old, he took sick, and as one thing, Father and Mother were always very careful. If anyone was sick, Father got the doctor right away. And it turned out to be typhoid fever, and he was very sick. The doctor said that if he hadn't had the care, the nursing care that Mother gave him, he would never lived. And one day, and Sam was only 2 years older, he was only 6. Mother went into the room one day, and he was down on his knees praying.
Mm-hmm. Father was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting. Of the brother-sister relationship, Father was closer to Uncle Charles, I presume, than
Yes.
the other members of the family.
It was only natural. They
Age.
were, yes,
Sure.
and in school together. That was one reason that they took Charlie out of Latrobe High School. He didn't graduate from there, you know, and put him
That's
in
right.
prep school at Gettysburg.
What was his reason? Because he missed Father?
Well,
Missed
and they
each other?
felt it was an extra expense driving into Latrobe by himself and so on. And the boys were always so close together, and Mother felt that, of course, after they'd get away from and graduate from college, they'd be separated. They'd each one go his own way, which of course did happen. And she felt, and Father agreed with her, that they ought to be together as long as they could.
Mm-hmm. Well, I often wondered just why Uncle Charles went to prep school, and I stopped thinking about it. But
That's the reason he took that year in place of his senior year in Latrobe.
But he was 2 years behind Father.
Well, your father was in school 1 year before he went.
I see, yeah.
And he went to Latrobe 1 year by himself.
Mm-hmm. Now, why did Father go to Gettysburg?
His high school teacher asked him where he was going to. He said, "You're going away to school." Sam said he expected to. "Well, where are you going?" "I don't know." So he suggested, he was the one, and he wasn't a Lutheran, but he suggested Gettysburg. So that got Father interested. Teal College wasn't as up and coming as it is today. It was in operation, but wasn't as good school as Gettysburg. So that's how he got to Gettysburg.
Well, did he graduate first in his class at Latrobe?
Yes, he
There
did.
weren't too many in the class, however.
I can't tell you that. Not too
15
many.
maybe,
I was
something
going to say 15 or 18, maybe not that many.
Did he have an outstanding record in high school? Straight A's, for example? Or anything you
Well,
recall?
it must have been pretty good, or he wouldn't have been high in his class. He came pretty nearly missing out on account of his music.
Mm-hmm.
He and Margaret Whiteman were their marks were very close.
Mm-hmm.
And he felt that he would lose out on account of his music, because of course he couldn't sing.
Mm-hmm.
He passed the other examination in his music, but not in his voice.
Mm-hmm. You said a while ago that you helped him go to Gettysburg. Well, it still wasn't enough money.
Well, Grace and Father and I, the three of us,
Well,
helped.
Father didn't work his way through in any sense,
No,
because
no.
he came home working the farm in summers.
Well, he worked, he was on the streetcar conductor, one year
Was
down
that the first summer?
Asbury Park. No, first summer was the summer that he was going to sell aluminum.
Oh, I didn't
Went
know
to a
this.
high. Oh, he...
Well, tell us about the
Well,
selling
he
of
came
aluminum.
home, he had his big suitcase, his samples of aluminum ware, and he was to go to a high to sell aluminum. And Mother and Father both tried to discourage him because they felt that he wouldn't be a salesman. But oh yes, he told how much money he would make. Well, he got turned down 2 or 3 doors, and that was the end. He worked on a farm out there for a very wealthy widow woman.
Mm-hmm.
And she ran the farm for, it was a show place.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't agriculture, it was more animals, horses in particular, as I remember.
Why did he go to Ohio?
Well, the company sent him there. That was the district where they sent him.
Mm-hmm. So since he was located there, he just thought he would
He
make a
was
living
ashamed.
some way.
He was ashamed. He was ashamed to come home. He knew he'd be kidded.
He spent the summer there.
Yes, he spent the whole summer there, and he made more money than he would have selling aluminum because this woman paid him well. I don't remember now, but he did very well. And then the next summer he went to Asbury Park.
That wasn't too successful.
Well, he stayed. Charles come home,
Oh?
but he stayed.
Why did Uncle Charles come home?
He didn't like it.
Well, did Father make any money?
Well, he made more than just to pay his way while he was there. I don't remember how much he made, but
But
he helped. And then the next summer, he stayed home, and Father paid them the same as he would have had to pay any other buddy on days that they worked in the farm, and then he worked on the road.
Well, it's odd that your father would pay him when he was helping to support Father in college.
Well, he felt that if the boys went away to work some other place, he would have to hire some other buddy, and he'd rather give it to his own.
Yeah, but was that money used for the education? I presume it was. Would that lighten the burden of you and Father and Aunt Grace, Grandpa and Aunt Grace?
I suppose it did. I don't.
I mean, when I worked during summers, I gave all my money to my people. I didn't take any of it.
Well, but then your mother and father paid for your education.
Sure, then that's why I didn't mind doing it.
No, well.
Well, that's beside the point, but I was just wondering about it. What about this story of Father and Uncle Charles walking home from Gettysburg?
That was, your father never wanted to hear about that.
It was written up, I think, in Gettysburg College.
I had written to them. They had written saying that they weren't coming home at Easter. And I wrote to them. I was teaching in Greensburg, and I wrote to them and told them that I would send them a 1,000-mile. In those days, we bought a $20 trip ticket lasted for 1,000 miles. And I told them that I would send them mine. I had one because I went home every Friday night and back Sunday evening to Greensburg. And it paid me to buy a 1,000-mile book.
Mm-hmm.
And they wrote back and said no, they'd made up their minds that they weren't coming home. But at the same time, they knew exactly what they were planning to do. They were going to walk home.
Mm-hmm. Now, when was this again? I wasn't quite listening. During Easter vacation?
Easter vacation.
Yeah,
Easter
okay.
vacation time.
Well, my heavens, they must have just about gotten home and they had to turn around and go back.
Well, they weren't home too long. Of course, they had the Easter vacation evidently was longer than they are today. But when they started out from Gettysburg, one of the boys said something to them about it, and your father said, oh, I'll hang Charlie on the fence before we get very far.
Mm-hmm.
And Charles was the one he got home and went out to the field to plow.
Now, he really did go out in the
Yes, he
field
really
to plow?
did. I don't know how long
Say
he plowed, but he did it just to be able to say that he was able to do that.
My father was in pretty bad shape.
Oh, he was.
Feet?
Feet and legs.
What, swollen?
Well, and so sore. They got the doctor, and he couldn't walk.
What was your father's reaction to all this?
Well, he didn't scold him. He didn't say anything that way, but I guess he thought they were very foolish for trying to do it. But I know Mother and the doctor said to massage, and we didn't dare rub any harder than that. And Grace was always a little bit rougher about doing things like that. And she went to, and he said, get out of this. I don't want you around me. I know you'll be too rough.
But he got over it in a day or so.
Well, Charlie went back to school. He wasn't able to go.
Oh, is that right?
He had to miss a little bit of school. Of course, that broke his heart. He knew that would give it away entirely, that it wasn't all just kidding.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was always a good story. I remember hearing about that. It's just a little bit here. Well, let's see. I would like to sometime again pick up at the end of Father's college life. First summer, aluminum selling, or an attempt at it. Second summer, Asbury Park, was it? Third summer? Remember this? Home.
Well, that was when he was at home, and evidently, well, of course, fourth summer was
Yeah, then he was
when he was finished his school.
That's right.
And that was, his last year in Gettysburg, I guess, was when he met your mother.
Oh, well, I would like to really hear more about that.
Oh, Kate Haberlin, introduced them. Edna was visiting Kate Haberlin, and they came to church. And it evidently was at one of the vacations, college vacations, and I suppose it'd be more apt to be in the either Thanksgiving or Easter. And the boys were home, and Kate introduced Edna and Sam, and I guess Sam So of course he would write the initial letter, and they corresponded, and that was.
Now, what year was this?
Well,
When
he
Father was in
graduated. He
Gettysburg?
graduated. Your father graduated in 1910.
Mm-hmm.
So this must have been the fall of 1909.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it was Thanksgiving rather than Easter.
How did Kate Haberlin happen to know Mother?
They taught down at Tekla
Oh,
together.
you probably said that.
No, I didn't.
Oh,
No.
I see.
But your mother went back and forth on the streetcar from Mount Pleasant to Hecla, Scottsdale to
Mm-hmm.
Hecla. And I don't know how Kate got there. I suppose she drove.
Mm-hmm. The Haberlins, of course, were very close to
Oh, yes.
Fausolds. Where did they live? They had a farm out in that area.
It's halfway between our place and the church.
Mm-hmm.
And Fred, Mr. Haberlin and Father were always good friends, and going to church, they were good church people, same as our family, and of course naturally they became acquainted. It was through your father that John and George went to Gettysburg.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did Father do any dating prior to his courtship with Mother?
Very little. He went with, called on Maud, no, that's her name, Blanche Kemp, a woman that went to the church a couple times.
This was when he was in college and home, I
Yes.
suppose.
Hmm.
No,
But he didn't go with any other person after he started going with your mother.
mm-hmm.
I think he had a girl that probably was in Gettysburg for a little while. He didn't date girls though like Charlie did.
Well, yeah, I would like to get a little more of that sometime, too. They were obviously different in many, many respects.
Yes. Not as different as they are now. Charles has changed very much.
Mm-hmm. Did Father do any dating in high school? I don't presume he did anything.
Oh, well, any of their high school functions
Yeah.
that he would attend, he